Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am, of course, your host, Chad. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus. Marcus, how the hell are you?
Good man. Another Tuesday. I for a little TV for lockdown.
That's right. This week we're talking Lockdown. It's going to be a fun event. Little disappointed with the card. Then again, I also have to acknowledge that a lot of this is a lack of roster. I don't know how many people they lost. 15 people maybe since January, maybe more. And the lack of talent showing. Like this card is built on sticks and twigs, man. I tell you what. Not to go all Hank of the Hill on you, King of the Hill on you, but like holy hell. There is hope. Of course, we pitched an idea last week on the pod where we talked about Leon Slater possibly ending the night as TNA World Champion. I'm going to tell you whether or not I think that's a more likely scenario or less likely scenario based off of it, one big deciding factor. But let's get into the card, talk about it, preview, predict, and then talk about possibly some new names on the TNA sphere, assuming the WWE doesn't want them, which seems to be like the standard case here. I feel like we're always talking about what can TNA do if the WWE doesn't do it first. And here we are yet again talking about that nonsense. But let's get started, Marcus. First matchup, the one I think is going to be probably the worst of the night, which could, might be a good match. I just don't think it's going to be, a match that's not the worst of the night, even if it's good. There's always got to be the first in line, right? And that's Elijah versus AJ Francis. I don't dislike AJ Francis to the point where I think he shouldn't be on the card or on the roster. I've pitched the idea several times of him and Moose being in a tag team, and I don't mean just a tag team. I mean the tag team. I think they're both, perfectly set for a tag team run. They have the charisma, the size. They got a lot going on for them. I think Francis needs a new look. The weak ass jersey and shorts combo I think makes him look pretty mid. But if you were to tag up with Moose, maybe put on a little extra muscle, maybe drop a little extra weight, and the two of them could be dubbed the All Pros and just give them a fucking 16-month tag title run for all I care. I think he needs a new look, but I think him and Moose could go a long way. That being said, as a single star, he has a ceiling. Um, in the old WCW days, I would say he's a TV champ, nothing more. In today's TNA days, I would have said he's the perfect digital media champion kind of guy, but we don't have that belt anymore. So like we don't really have that entry level title anymore. We got the X Division title. That's cool. We got the international title. That belt finally means something. They've tried for like what, a decade to have like a legitimate second tier non divisional title, and they finally got that. And the world title is the world title, so like things are the way they are. But I don't think Francis is an international champion, or I think he should be. And I think right now this match with Elijah, this feud with Elijah is blah. Marcus takes what is your takeaway on the Elijah Francis of it all in the final encore match, whatever the hell that means?
I think it impressive, like you said. Probably and hopefully it'll be the worst match of the night. They haven't had like you said, you're not the biggest fan of Francis, but you know the multiple times that he has in place. Um, this might not necessarily be in the spots for you that they put him in so far, but he definitely solidified himself as one of the more consistent guys they can certainly depend on, depending on whatever spot they need him in. He'll do it to the best of his abilities. But kind of find a way to switch lanes, probably both of them after this match. If they're not, to your point, going to put them in a tag, which could be something randomly brilliant, but I can't see it right now. So hopefully they let this be the big blow off with everything that they've had going on and kind of take them in two different directions. I think we talked about before potentially putting a ladder towards that um, world title overall, just to base it off everything that he's done, the momentum that he's picked up with those big match wins. Uh, Maybe doesn't beat Nemeth, but he has an impressive showing. So, but yeah, I expect it to be a solid match. They both been putting in a lot of work, specifically Elijah been impressive in a lot of these situations more often than not.
I think Elijah in the world title scene would be very interesting, and I think it could be a lot of fun. If we go with the Slater idea, I think that gets a little bit compact. But I think if you're looking for the guy to crown as the world champ, if he's willing to sign another deal, right? And we go into October with Nemeth as champion, I would not be against Elijah versus Nemeth for the world title because I feel like we're in an era where there just isn't a good option. Like you could go with Jeff Hardy, but he's pushing 50, if not already 50. You could go with Leon Slater, but I don't know what his contract situation looks like. Ricky Sosa is so new to the game that I feel like it would be like kind of like what New Japan did with Colin Newman, where they seemingly rushed him into the world title scene before he was ready. And I don't want to see that happen to Sosa, especially with the potential he has as the total package in wrestling. So I think Elijah makes the most sense. Two other names that are vying for the world title, but two names that I hope don't see it. Moose, Frankie Kazarian. It's an escape the cage match. While I think Frankie Kazarian's probably having the best singles run of his career, only challenged by his 2007 into 2008 run where he was just fucking tearing it down in TNA. I gotta say I don't like Kazarian as main eventer. I think he's doing the best he can, and while he has the body of work to go into the Hall of Fame, I don't feel like he's a main eventer or a main event player or someone who should be on the top half of the card. I think the best place for Kazarian is in a tag team. And before Young got released, I was thinking Kazarian and Eric Young could reform their tag team from back in the day, though minus the Super Eric of it all. If you guys don't remember, Eric Young and Frank Kazarian briefly won the tag team titles before Super Eric refused to reveal himself as Eric Young because he wouldn't reveal his secret identity, his alter ego of Eric Young. Super Eric and Kazarian were stripped of the titles, and here we are. But of course, we are where we are, and Kazarian, another guy who's pushing 50, is facing a guy who's 40, and it feels like TNA is just unwilling to push new stars across the board, and instead they're picking and choosing one or two spots, which is fine until you get to Lockdown, where so much of this card is headlined by guys who've been in the industry 20 or 30 years. So like, I don't know. But this is a fucking industry wide issue. Save for New Japan, everyone is kind of falling into this trapping. Like All Japan, who was it recently? Davey Boy Smith won the Triple Crown champion last year. You know, Noah was riding the Muda train for the longest time, and now they're on the Naito train. You look at NXT, and most of those guys are over 30. You look at WWE, most of those guys are over 40. And they got a few guys that are dancing around 50 that are like, oh, okay. So, like, this is an industry wide issue. And TNA's not, they're not the only ones doing it, but they're a company that needs to maybe make stars more than anyone else. So like, let's get to it. MLW, two of their biggest names, Cross and Mystico are 40 or over 40. So like, again, industry wide issue. And now Ric Flair's training in a ring. Maybe not for a comeback, but he just posted a video, like a photo of him in a ring recently at like 77, and I'm just like, we're not doing this again, right? The first time you nearly died. The second time you will die. So like, let's not do this again. But as far as Moose and Kazarian goes, I find this to be the second most boring feud. The only reason I'm a little bit more interested in it is because Kazarian or Moose could be in the world title scene between now and October, depending on who leaves Lockdown as champion. I could see Moose and Nemeth feuding for the belt until the build up for Bound for Glory, and I could see Leon Slater and Kazarian feuding into the build up to Bound for Glory. Like that between like August and October, I could see both those guys, in a short title scene with whoever the champion is. So like, I think this is a more relevant match than Elijah and AJ Francis. I just don't think it's a better one. I still think Moose wins the day though. Marcus, thoughts on this match?
Yeah, same unless because they get some help or something like I. They got to be moved, but he seemingly will run through the system and everything with that, and it seemed like he could potentially be maybe on run towards the world title. I don't know. Have we seen? There's been so many matches. Have we seen Moose in them as yet? Pretty sure we have, right?
Maybe if we have, it wasn't well remembered to the point where like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. And if it was, I think obviously Nemeth was a face then, so dynamics is different now. This Moose has obviously been in the system, so yeah, I can see definitely Moose winning. Another situation where the match could obviously come on far better in execution than on paper,
Mm-hmm.
because just who those guys are and what they can still do at their age and stage. But yeah, to your point, definitely more interested in that than the Elijah um, Francis feud, but still. And to your point, also often more intentionality in the booking because of where these two guys still are, unfortunately, in the grander scheme of potential world champions.
Yeah, the TNA World Championship scene is a bit lackluster. Let's move on to the Knockout Tag Team Titles match for like the 14th time in the last 12 days, it feels like. Demon Bunny is taking on the Elegance brand. It should be technically Demon Cross Bunny or Demon X Bunny, but we're just going to call him Demon Bunny. Um, I don't know what the hell they're doing here at this point. We need so much more help with the Knockouts division. Now, I'm told, you know, I'm told, help is coming, right? Like that dynamic song by who is it? Rise Against. Help is on the way. Apparently, a few top names have been discussed. Ironically, Tessa Blanchard's in discussions with MLW, and apparently MLW almost also landed Aleister Black. So like one company's making headlines, trying to sign top free agents. The other one is running back the same bland ass women's tag team that we've had for over a year. The Elegance brand is bad. I'm not saying M is bad. I'm not saying um, Heather's bad. I think Heather Reckless could be a really fun face, especially as a partner of Alicia. I think when you look at M, she's clearly in line for a big push, and I think they have the right two women in the finals. I don't know if this is a spoiler for people, but I'm gonna tell you. The finals of the TV Knockouts title are M by Elegance and Jada Stone, and I think that's the right move. They're the two with the most potential and talent on the roster currently who aren't already stars to some degree. I think Demon Bunny wins. Oh, by the by, and I mentioned before, I think Moose wins. I think Demon Bunny wins and retains, and I think the Elegance brand splits after this match, whether at the event or the following Impact win, M or Jada win. And I think M's going to win, so Jada chases into Bound for Glory. That's my working theory. Marcus, Demon Bunny, and the Elegance brand knock out tag team titles for probably, hopefully, the last time ever. Thoughts on this bout?
Yeah, Demon Bunny, keep the momentum with them, keep the titles on them. This is about the closest we're gonna get. It feels like Rosemary back to the Knockouts title, uh, and they put in so much effort to fully round out this whole resurrection of the Bunny storyline anyway, which probably one of the more impressive things that they've done over the last how many months. Um, so it's better to just keep the momentum with them. Um, if for no other reason than the fact that if you don't have any consistent competition, at least you can do with them, which will at least take up some quality TV time, is do them segments, those otherworldly segments and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But even more so than that, to your point, they gotta switch something up with the Elegance brand. The benefit about the Elegance brand is that they've been so consistent and so relied upon. But they've taken up a lot of TV time and gotten better and had their moments this and the third. Ain't really floated my boat, but I've appreciated the fact that they are consistent. Problem is that we've seen them so much and it's been so much of the same that it's become dull. now they need to switch things up. I think going to your point about breaking them up is good. I mean, because essentially, we went through the whole thing with Dana Brooke, and then they want to knock out tags, and then the rigmarole bringing the buff guy in, and we've seen a lot of stuff with them. So I think it's just time to switch up something to spark it. And I think obviously, like you said, they need to kind of branch off to kind of bolster that straight for now knockouts title scene. And I think and by elegance uh, is good for that. And if she ends up winning, and like you said, Jada is a great underdog. I mean, look at her, got that fiery spirit and all that, and that could be a great thing leading into the rest of the summer. So I think that's the best thing to do overall. If there's no reason to take them off Demon Bunny, you need to switch things up with the brand. They've been your most one of your probably your most consistent thing besides um, the system on the show, but they need a good kick in the butt.
I agree. I agree. And I think hopefully that's what we're going to end up getting come lockdown. Let's talk about the Knockouts World title. I'm not exactly thrilled with this. Then again, why would I be? This is everything I dislike about modern TNA here in Technicolor, which is just not good. We're talking about Zaya Brookside and Alanya Black. I think Zaya is a decent enough worker. If you wanted to put her in like, and I'm not, this is not a derogatory statement about her looks, but if you wanted to put her in like a mask and call her like La Femicide after like, how TNA used to have suicide, and like just have her be like and just have like a generic luchador esque, thing where she could eat losses, kind of like Jerry Lynn did back in the day as Mr. JL. That's a good spot for her. She's a good worker. She is not charismatic. She's not captivating. She doesn't have a unique look. She's not a good heel. She's not a good face. There's nothing really about her that makes me think, oh, she's got star potential. Then you look at Alanya Black. She has charisma. She has the look. She has this noticeable ability to draw you in. But she's as trash in the ring as an ECW pay per view after a WWE star won the main event world title scene, where fans would then just chuck all the trash they have in their fucking seats into the ring. That's how bad Alanya Black is in the ring. And I'm going to have to watch this match. And it's going to be boring. And it's going to be bad. And then I'm going to have to wonder, what am I doing with my life? Why is this still a hobby I enjoy? I could do anything. I could mold, I could sculpt, I could paint, I could draw football lines on my front yard. I could install random basketball hoops in my neighborhood. Not in like anywhere well or helpful, but
Yeah,
like on someone's front yard or in someone's pool. Just, you know, pour a concrete port and build a fucking basketball in someone's empty pool and then fill it up. And now they have a random basketball hoop in their pool. I could be doing things like that. I could be taking everyone's left back tire and removing just one single nut off of it just for fun. I could be high-fiving the gas station clerk at 4:14 every afternoon for funsies. For the next 365 days. All these hobbies could be more interesting than pro wrestling at this moment, Marcus. So like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore since this is the goddamn world title match I have to sit through. I'm fine. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Chad
I'm
going
good.
around his neighborhood being called a left nut bandit. But yeah, but yeah, this is definitely your Dinkelberg uh, match at this point. To quote the legendary Jim Ross, who hopefully he is doing okay. Stuff he's going through right now, health wise. This this got bowl and shoe ugly written all over it. You know, um, it's not good. Zaya Brookside, God bless her, she's trying to do the best she can with the heel stuff, but like you said, it's just not a lot there, unfortunately, and even less so on the opposite side of the ring with Elena Black. It's the definition of dull.
It
It's
is.
just not good. It's not clashing. We don't really have anybody, unfortunately, in the division outside of like Jada and Mara when she was there that has like a bit of a spark. Also, you got Tasha Steele, got a lot of personality, but they're still resolving stuff with Order 4. So she's not necessarily in the mix. But yeah, this is just Like that knockouts title is just been having its wheels spun right now. You just having to sit with it. Uh, so yeah, we both might intentionally miss this match, unfortunately. And just like talk about the result of it because it don't really matter either way. I think the worst decision, putting it on Atlanta is not the right decision. To me, because at least Zaya has been putting in consistent work, even if we haven't liked it. But it's no good players here.
I think Alania's Alania or whatever it is. I think she's winning. I do.
Mm.
They brought her in for a reason, and knowing Delirious and how he books women, Alania's winning. That being said, in Zaya Brookside's defense, I really think if she were to embrace like a whole dyed blue hair, blue makeup, blue outfit look, I think she and Harley Hudson could have a nice like color scope kind of tag team. They're both British. They both have like eccentric colors in their hair. They both have a unique look. I think as a tag team, there's some value in Zaya Brookside if you pair her with the right person. As a solo star, there's just nothing to offer. Like this is like like 1999 WWE, 2000 WWE, where you have like Lita and Trish coming up. You still have China and Ivory, but then you're like, I'll give the belt to fucking Miss Kitty, and it's like no one's asking for that, and no one asked for this. No one wants any of this. Speaking of things no one wants, no one wants to be in Order 4 anymore. At least that's how it looks. Jason Hotch out, new international champion, a burgeoning star, someone with potential, hype, excitement, credibility, youth, and I think he's going to get his ass kicked. What I will say is right now, if you want the best thing on TNA television, look at Mustafa Ali. I'm sorry, Mustafa Ali. Look to see where he is because he's going to be in the best program. Jason Hotch is getting a big push with a title that's going to help make his name. They're also bringing in Mila Moore, giving her a whole unique ass gimmick. Granted, not anything we haven't seen before, but before this, she was just the tall person behind Tessa Blanchard. Well, technically, everyone's tall around Tessa Blanchard, so she's the pale tall person next to Tessa Blanchard, and now she actually has a gimmick. She's someone who's pushing Tasha Steelz' buttons and maybe driving her out of Order 4. And if she gets driven out of Order 4, there might be a new member coming in to replace Tasha and Jason Hotch. And honestly, Tasha and Jason Hotch forming their own little, not to use the term conglomerate as a stable name, but their own little conglomerate would be a great idea. Maybe you bring back Jake Christ. Maybe they relaunch Ohio is for Killers. Rich Swann, Jake Christ, and Trey Miguel all won the I think it was the Revolver six-man titles this past weekend. So like Hotch, I think is from Ohio as well. I know he was trained, or at least was partially trained by the OVE crew. So like there's potential there if you want to go that route. They need some excitement, and thankfully from what we've seen with Hotch as of late, he has the ability to produce that kind of excitement. He's had some great matches so far in TNA, and him and Mustafa just have so much great charisma together, and not charisma, chemistry together. So I'm excited about this match, and I really can't wait to see what this ends up becoming, especially with Skylar and Special Agent Zero maybe now forming their own tag team going forward. There's a lot of elements in this match, in this feud, that will wrinkle out of it across the TNA landscape for weeks to come. So I'm very intrigued about this. I still think Hotch goes over. At least that's more what I'm hoping. But if Ali wins, I would not be surprised. But also, I think Ali will be in the main event of Bound for Glory against Leon Slater. That's my official prediction. We'll see if any of that has any merit. Of course, that all depends on how Lockdown ends. But if Lockdown ends like I think is possible, I would not be surprised if it's Slater Ali at Bound for Glory, and that would be a huge main event for them. Marcus, thoughts on Hotch and Ali?
It's not even debatable. You laid it out, man. It's been the best story they've had, and it's produced one of the best matches that they've had. Ali has been the absolute MVP for the longest now. I think I called him that before you even like
You have been
before
higher
you
on
got behind.
Ali. Sorry to interrupt. You have been higher on Ali for longer than I have, and you have been right on him ever since. You saw him and what he could be. So I got to tip my cap to you. You called that. You called that 100%.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Usually, I'm telling behind you, particularly with the Hendry thing, even that tape it all, that tape it out, dear God. Yeah, man, I'm just happy that they've had him. I'm happy that he stayed with whatever in the hell's been going on behind the scenes, uh, whether it be pay or just numbskull decisions. He's been one of their most consistent players, elevating and all the feuds that he's had, all the matches, the promos, you name it, he's delivered every time. And like I said, the story they've been telling with this ascension in order for and finally breaking out high. This is one of the best stories that they've told in a very long time. And it was cool to see the way that they did it and that it happened on an impact and the way that they did it. And hopefully this is like maybe one of those situations, kind of how like Triple H did with Batista, he put him over clean like 3 times, I think in 2005 to solidify him. And I think hopefully they do that here.
Hmm.
But to your point, also, you can't go wrong either way because Ali is just he got the hot hand. But I think it would be really cool if Hodge managed to get out another win. You continue that thing of Tasha Steele, which has also been a great little piece added in. Um, but everything you just continue to expand on the floor as they tape off and see Ali bring in some more stuff. You continue little dissensions like that. But you also push Ali towards the main event because he's more than earned it. I think that's probably the easiest story. It's the best story and the easiest story that they could tell right now.
I think you're spot on there. I do. Um, Moving on to the X Division title match. If Cedric Alexander wins, Leon Slater's near or year-long title reign gets erased from history. Austin Aries goes back to being the longest winning champion. I forgot who the youngest champion was. He would go back to that. I think it was maybe Saban or maybe it was Saban or Amazing Red. I think it was Amazing Red. So like things would happen. It's not going to happen. That's just it. When you see such an outlandish stipulation, it all but guarantees that it doesn't come to fruition because like that would be stupid. Unless they find out that Leon Slater has been molesting baby, chipmunks, there's no reason to erase him from the fucking timeline. If you were gonna erase anyone from the goddamn timeline, you got a bunch of NXT talents you could do that to. You got Tessa's world title reign you could do that to. You got so many other avenues. Alberto Albatron's world title reign could be erased. Leon Slater has been a great young athlete who's been a great mouthpiece for the promotion, who's done right by the promotion, who's done right by the fans. There's seemingly no complaints about him. So why would we erase his title? You wouldn't. So Slater's win.
Yeah, I was glad because I always like when you do your own spot booking. If you had to take it to the next level, how would you do this with that wouldn't make it so telegraphed how this could potentially go? In terms of the get the egg Alexander into giving him another shot.
Mm, okay, let's think about this. I think and Alexander would need to be on board with this. But thinking of historical wrestling tropes, I've been thinking a lot about Lucha Libre as of late because I'm a huge Mystico mark. I just adore the man. And I think to myself, there's two grand sins in pro wrestling in Mexico, in Lucha Libre. There's removing the mask of a competitor during the match. That's faux pas numero dos, numero uno. There's nothing worse than that. But the second one, and it's more of an embarrassment, is losing your hair. And I think if Leon Slater had taken like a razor and just like went down the center of Alexander's head and like taken off some of his hair, I think then Alexander forces Slater into this match for retribution. Because like what an embarrassing situation to be in. Another man takes your own hair and you didn't ask him or pay him to. That's so degrading. And anyone would be like, all right, you took my hair, I'm gonna take your fucking life. Like, let's do this. And I think that could have been enough to do it. But also, we could have gone to the obscure, right? Let's think about, the LAX revival days of 2016, 2017. Maybe Leon Slater does a drive-by and shoots up someone that Alexander noses or runs him over. What is it that LAX did? Did they run over the kid or did they shoot him?
You, I think somebody. I think it was a run over the kid situation.
So go get
So,
Homicide, go get Hernandez, run over Cedric Alexander's nephew,
uh,
and go or push his wife in front of a train. That worked for James Storm.
oh my God, random urban youth violence. Oh my God.
But like you could have got like maybe Slater comes back as an undead form of himself thanks to the Hardys. Maybe he locks Cedric Alexander in the undead realm. Like there's a lot of like obtuse ways we can go with this feud, right?
On the low end of things, could you if you had to lowball the entire situation, because this is feels like a WWE idea, particularly the thing they keep recycling with these damn Samoans. Um, they do another match. What Slater's like? If you beat me, I basically get to be your house pet as a part of the system. If I beat you, I get the belt back, and you have to leave the system.
Ooh, I like the idea because Leon Slater's like 22, so him being a young boy in a
Yeah,
stable is normally what you would expect out of like a Japanese situation. Like you'd have like a young hanger on who comes around, carries the bags, and does all that stuff. I like that. I have another idea though that I think might be more in line with how we can get there in a little bit more of a cheeky way. Alexander beats Slater for the title. And Slater goes, "Okay, you beat me, but I'm still better than you." And Alexander's like, "But I got the belt." And Slater's like, "Okay." And Alexander's like, "No, no, I'm better than you. I have the belt." And Slater's like, "Sure, brother. You know, cool." And he just walks away. And Alexander gets mad because Slater won't acknowledge it. And then you do like a 4 or 6 man or 8 man tag match, what have you. And Alexander gets like walloped by whomever, like a chair shot to the head, something like violent, like maybe gets double power bomb through 14 tables, just something wild. And Slater, who had nothing to do with it, is the one that gets the pin. So like, let's say the Hardy Boys put him through a table with a twist of fate and a swanton bomb. Then Slater's one that pins him, and then Slater just like has a new shirt where he's pinning Alexander, and Alexander's like, you didn't beat me, he goes, but I got the 3 count, so I'm better than you, and he just walks away, and he's just like dropping these little comments just to piss him off, like, oh, you're the X Division champion, but you're not better than me. I got the title, I got the historical title, like I've held this belt as long as anyone. You're in the bottom, 10 so far, like you're not even on my level, and like I beat you, and then like the next week you have him like get like a surprise win, maybe one that's not even like a real match. Maybe he's like in a tag team match with the System versus Order 4, and Special Agent Zero just lays him out with a big boot, and then Slater runs in with like a friend who's dressed as a referee, and the referee does a fast count, and then the next week he wears that shirt, and but I beat you twice in a row. I should be the X Division champion, but I'm gonna let you be it because you need it more than me. I made that belt. That belt made you, so you need it more than me. Getting to the point where Alexander's like, fine, I want you in a match, and I'm going to put the X Division title on the line. And Slender's like, oh, I don't know, I'm busy that day. And it gets into Alexander's head so much that this dude is just trolling him for a month. That Alexander finally snaps, assaults Slater, sets up the title match at Lockdown, and we go full bore into it. I think that would be a dynamic way of getting this feud across and giving it a little bit of personality and originality that sets it apart from anything else we've seen. What do you think of that one?
no, I like it. Mostly because it eats up a lot of healthy TV time. Um, and it's good stuff because you could really do a thing where, like, by all, based on what you said, by all measures, Slater should be behind him. He beat him twice. He retained. But the fact that this little thing is bugging him, it's costing him, mental points to the point where it's costing him the matches.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's causing the squad to lose because he just, I don't know, just all over himself about it. And then eventually, to your point, it rounds about. Weeks go on, and then we get to this final stalemate. It's a good way to stretch it. Um, and it kind of feeds into the whole thing they've been doing anyway because Alexander's been real high on himself and whatnot. But it would be easy for somebody who is young as Slater to get in the head of somebody who is seasoned as Alexander, who really shouldn't even be phased, specifically after he beat the kid twice. So I think I like that older OG, if you will, versus young guy, kind of mental gymnastics type of deal. I like that.
You could also do this thing where he comes out and challenges Mustafa or Hotch for the international title, or during a Hardy promo, he just comes out and goes, "I can beat both Matt and Jeff Hardy for the tag team title belts behind my back, and next week I'm going to do just that." And then Alexander could come storming out like, "No, I'm the person you need to face because I'm better than you, and you need to admit it. Why won't you admit it?" And like the Hardy boys be like, "I don't know. I think Slater can beat us." And like everyone's just like chirping on Alexander to really like put him over the like we're gonna like full blow full born gaslight Alexander into a rematch. And I think that would just be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of avenues you could go with that. Plus like the specialty shirts would be so much fun to do. Oh, it'd be a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, we got Lockdown, tight titular match. It's the Lethal Lockdown. It's Jada Stone, Fabian Aichner, Casey Navarro, and Ricky Sosa taking on Alicia Edwards, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and Bear Bronson. Bear Bronson's been nursing an injury. Fabian Aichner's been nursing his career. So I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to go. So, like, Sosa's going to be the star of this match. Navarro's going to be a highlight. I think they're going to ask Jada Stone to do something stupid. There's always someone, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles. There's always someone who's going to do something stupid in a lethal lockdown match. Kurt Angle. I think this year it's going to be Jada Stone. I think she's going to jump onto everyone from the top of this steel cage. Now, it, what's up, buddy?
Oh, I mean, you basically just booked a match. Give the match to Jada. Is Lish in the match?
Yes, Lish is in the match.
Give it to Jada, Lish. Um, Fabian, I guess throw Fabian in there because he wants the springboard moonsault off everything, and what's up? And then let everybody else kind of just brace that. You got an easy book match.
Mm-hmm.
Give them give them the highlights, and let everybody else handle the meat of the match.
100%. This is one of those situations where you have the right guys. Like Eddie can captain this match. Bear Bronson's shown a willingness to do something stupid. Alicia is a little bit of a daredevil. She's not going to jump off this top of a steel cage through a table, 15 feet below her. She's like 95 fucking pounds. That would kill her. But like Bear Bronson would. I think Casey Navarro would do something stupid. Jada Stone, I think, has the cojones to jump off this structure and cross body, and maybe that's what you do. Maybe so. Like, I'm not sure if they're going to do the lowering of the roof for this. I don't know if they did it last time, but if they do a conventional lethal lockdown match where the roof lowers and that's when the match truly begins, I would love to see a segment where both Lish and Jada are on top of the cage, throwing elbows on one another, or throwing forearms on one another, and both Jada's team and the system are getting up, and Jada jumps onto the system, and Lish jumps onto the faces. I think that would be a huge dynamic moment that would get people talking. And this is also the match that, back in the day and now currently, would be the type of match that you would see all over social media. There has to be moments that make you go, holy shit. And everyone has to be willing to take some type of nasty bump. Nothing career ending or crazy. I don't want to see someone do like a 450 splash from the top of the cage onto nothing. But like Eddie could get knocked off the side through a table. Brian Myers could go onto some thumbtacks. Leon Slater could do like a moonsault from halfway up the steel cage wall onto somebody. Like there's a lot of avenues you can do to get the highlight moments. This is why the Royal Rumble has fallen apart because now you have two Royal Rumbles, in the same, fucking show, and everyone's doing the same spots, and it no longer feels unique and original. This is the type of match that on its own in a one night situation could be truly monumental. So I would like to see them go full out, balls to the walls, and have some fun. And with this being arguably Ricky Sosa's biggest match in TNA to date, Ricky Sosa not only has to have his team win, but he has to be the one who wins this, preferably by pinning Eddie Edwards, because I would like to see Sosa and Eddie go into Bound for Glory.
I like that. Definitely have him get the pin. Matter of fact, if you want to end it, Big Bang, Sosa. If you want to have him climb to the top of the cage, that's fine. You don't have to, but if you can do long term 450 off the top on the elbows through a table, and with the pin, send the crowd home. Bang, bang, Sosa, as he poses on the cage with the doing the thing. This might be the easiest match to book. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, the only thing you have to do is ask them, "Hey, are you stupid a little bit?" Like, we're not asking if you're truly dumb, but like if you're Mensa, you're gonna say no. If you're just below Mensa, you might be dumb enough to say yes. And that's really all we need to figure out, right? Like, are you
Me,
dumb enough to say yes to some of the stupid ideas we have for you?
me and Chad in the back as producers going like on a scale of highly intelligent to I am group. Where where is that? And then yeah, because I don't want to be a situation where like Eddie has to watch his wife do something stupider than he would, and then get injured for it. So that'll be
I,
the worst.
so like,
Yeah.
listen, if we want to do like a whole romance storyline with Eddie and Lish, right? I think maybe one of the things we could do is like set up like a barbed wire table and have Eddie and Lish go through it together in a loving embrace. And then like for the next 3 weeks on Impact, we just like put like a heart around it with like little pink like effects and play some like romantic music. Like, that'd be cute, right? That'd be cute.
Oh, what if? And this would be crazy, but I can see this as well. I wouldn't necessarily do it if it was my wife, but because of the impact of it, he gets rid of the Swanton 450. It was on the ball wire table through it, coming off the top, and Lish dives on top of him last minute to cover.
That'd be cute, right? That'd be nice. I like that.
Oh
I think
boy,
the faces are going over though.
got to.
So let's talk main event. Main event is going to be the Hardy Boys versus the Nemeths. This should be a very interesting tag team title match. I think the Nemeths are going over. And I said before on last week's show that I think Slater's going to win the X Division title, and then I think he's going to cash in option C after Nick and Ryan barely win. I think we're going to get a ladder spot in here somewhere. I think we're going to get a table spot in here. And I think Nick's going to pin Matt. And as Nick is bloodied and pulling himself up, I think Santino comes out and goes, Slater's cashing in his option C. And then Slater comes down, beats Nemeth to close out the show. I think doing that, but then putting the belts on the Nemeths resets the tag team division. So it's a twofold event. You get the belts on the Nemeths, and while I like the Hardys, I think the Hardys are better served as solo stars for a little bit, only because you need the name value that they have across the pay per views instead of just condensing them into one tag team match. And I think them as world tag team champions is a little bit played out. I know that's kind of like what they're banking on is the Hardy Boys nostalgia, but I think both Matt and Jeff can get you there in attendance and pay per view sales and shirts and merchandise as solo stars who are still tag teams. Like Matt and Jeff are going for individual belts, but they still tag. While the Nemesis, I think, are good enough and talented enough to run the tag team division and to build up some faces to feud with them. Because really, when you look at it, you have the system, you have Order 4, whatever variant that they want to run with, because it could be John Schuyler and Mustafa, it could be John Schuyler and Special Agent Zero, Mustafa and Special Agent Zero, a fourth new member. You also have who else? I just thought of them. You have the Righteous. They're there, and they're all heels. So we need some new face tag teams. And I think setting up the Nemeths in the driver's seat with the division will force TNA to make some face tag teams that would at least be able to get something out of them. And at worst case scenario, you run the Hardys versus the Nemeths again, bound for glory for the tag team belts, where the Nemesis are defending the belts. So I think that sets you up long term.
I like that. I like that idea. I was thinking you could round back to it. There's still some unfinished business after what they did with him. Um, I was gonna say because they're in the match together, and obviously Slater is doing his own thing with him and Sosa in the match. Would you? I like that pairing. But would you put KC and Sosa together Because if because they could easily have Nick as the world and a tag team with his brother, which is what basically what you were saying, right?
Hmm.
Um, would you put somebody with Navarro and have them run that back, and then Navarro eventually kind of gets the one up on him in a measure of revenge and take the tag titles with somebody by his side? And would you put Sosa in that spot if you're not going to have him run backwards later?
That's a good question. If Slater wins the tag, it wins the world title. I think Navarro becomes your de facto X Division champion. But assuming we don't go that route, yeah, I think Sosa and Navarro taking the tag belts off of them at Bound for Glory makes all the sense in the world. I think that could be a lot of fun. I do think, however, it's better suited for Navarro to take over the X Division title reign because he's a very likable face, but he's also a very good heel. And I think the goal is to get not Casey, Sosa into Bound for Glory in a solo match, so you can really see what he can do. I don't know if you would put him with Jason Hotch for the international title, but I would put him in there in some big time solo match, just like I would with Navarro with the X Division title. Those are the three guys, like Slater, Navarro, and Sosa are the three guys I think face wise you have to put in situations heading into Bound for Glory where they are in tent pole matches. Now, that can be a tag team title match, but then I don't know what you do with the Hardys. Because I don't want to just the roster's not deep enough to do a four tag team situation like we've seen in the past. We have to find avenues for Jeff and Matt Hardy to contribute that aren't just tag team title matches at Bound for Glory. So I think if you do Sosa and Navarro against the Nemeths, I think Matt and Jeff have to go solo. Maybe Jeff goes in the main event against Leon Slater for the name value. Maybe Matt Hardy and Mustafa, go at it, or maybe Matt Hardy faces off with Hotch or whoever is the international champion. I don't love the idea of putting Sosa and Navarro together so quickly because there's so much depth that is not being addressed across the roster. But it does make a lot of sense. What I would say, though, Marcus, is it makes more sense if Slater doesn't cash in the option C gimmick, and if Sosa and Slater then go up against the Nemesis at Bound for Glory because I think those are the two guys that I think more than anyone are seen as the future of this company, assuming Slater resigns. So like I think they have more value as a tag team than Navarro and Sosa, but Navarro has the storyline aspect. So what I would say ultimately is if you want to go with the tag team title match where Navarro is in against the Nemesis at Bound for Glory, you just find him a new tag team partner. That would be my suggestion is find him a new tag team partner and maybe put Sosa in the X Division title match, which I think could still work.
Quick thing about because it's a TNA main event. Do based off your profound knowledge, historical knowledge, do they let this match go clean, or is there some measure of effort?
I don't see there being a reason for there to be effery. Not unless they decide to do the X Division option C cash in, should they do it at all, in the middle of the match. Then there would be some effery there. But I think this match, the Nemeths are probably going to cheat, but then again, in a steel cage match, it's not really cheating. So like, I think this will go pretty clean. At least that's my hope. Do you have the same hope?
Yeah, I got to say that it's like you said, there's no need for it. The Nimbus cause enough problems as it is, and to be fair, they do even with what Dolph's like in what 42 or something.
Dolph's like 46.
Yeah. Uh, so they have a youth-ish advantage. Uh, and certain physically, they have a physical advantage in terms of being in better shape physically. Like I said, the last thing I'd ever want to see is a Jeff Hardy X-ray. Um, and Matt and Matt at this point as well. But yeah, the match don't need. You got two legends versus two brothers versus brothers. We rarely get that. You know, like so. Uh, obviously you see more of that in wrestling now, but it's a rarity. So that alone is enough. So I don't think they need to. overbook yet another main event. Specifically one that's not one that's world title because they love overbooking their main world title. So this needs to go off without a hitch. I think we just, ironically enough, even if we weren't excited, I think our talk has me excited because I feel like we just booked a damn good show, basically. Hopefully that's the route they go. So yeah,
Yeah, that's the hope, right? Like, but then again, what are they saying? Ted Lasso, it's the hope that kills you. So here's hoping that everything goes well. I would expect at least one debut though. I don't know if it's going to be a knockout. I don't know if it's going to be a new solo star, a new tag team, but I would expect a debut at Lockdown just because of what's setting it up. And why I think Slater wins so much at Lockdown is because they're doing a live Impact on Thursday. It's why they're doing the TV title match. And I think if you bookend it with the Leon Slater celebratory title win, as well as the finals of M by Elegance versus John Stone for the TNA Television Championship, or TNA Knockout Television Championship, I think you bookend yourself a pretty impressive show. And if you allude to a new debut or debut someone new at Lockdown, I think that sets up this live Impact even more so. So, at least I think it's
it's
live Impact. They're recording
quick,
the Impact on Thursday, so like it's got to be live, right?
yeah, quick, quirky booking that just randomly spread in my mind. See how you feel about this. You
Excuse me.
have if they have to have Jada Stone winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having it be Carlos Silva, of having to come out and give everybody they titles when they win them, bring out an old knockout that could still go, and as she raises her hand and whatnot, and then basically beats her up to set up a potential feud.
Depending on who you get,
Yeah,
there could be something there. I like that. Like, let's just say for the sake of argument, you bring back Taylor Wilde. You have her come in, she beats up, Jada Stone. Boom, you launch off into the next, the next match, right? Um, let's just say that you don't go with Jada, you go with M by Elegance. Taylor Wilde comes out, you know, they're giving her the belt, and then Taylor Wilde comes out and makes it known that she's next up. Like either way, you could do something there, just as long as it's not indie. No indie
yeah.
darling.
Could you see Angelina potentially having one last run? Or
Yeah. Oh,
the
absolutely. She's still going right now. She's still out there. I don't know how much wrestling she's doing, but her boyfriend is getting some attention. She's dating a little bit of a younger man, and he's getting a lot of attention by promoters. And there's talks of like him getting a bigger profile here in the next year or two. So like, I could see her coming in if he comes with her. So like, there's absolutely all that possibility. Now, two names that we've seen talked about, and by the by, for those wondering, yes, the Impact After Lockdown is in fact a live one, live Thursday, August 27th. They will be debuting a new episode of Impact from Brampton, Ontario at the CAA Center. I don't know where the CAA Center is. Sounds Montrealian. I don't know where Montreal is apparently. uh, yeah, but it's the unit's in Ontario. I don't think Montreal's in Ontario. Quebec. It's in Quebec, right? Montreal, Quebec. Yeah, that makes more sense. So it'll be in the CAA Center. It's a 5,000 seat venue. There's a good chance that they put in at least half, if not, maybe close to a sellout, especially if Slater wins. If Slater wins, I could see the selling out, just because it's the first time that we've ever seen it. Seen Slater win, come in, big hoopla, what have you. But maybe we get some other names showing up. Apparently, Fightful is reporting, and this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone considering how good they are. J Rod and Josh Bishop have been on the outskirts of TNA scouting here in the recent little bit. Both individuals popped up on the WWE side of things recently. They were both looked at in their last round of tryouts, and it's a crapshoot who gets signed and who doesn't. only because like you think about what WWE is looking for, and it's not always who you hope for or who you think. There are two people who I think could be very good if they end up in TNA. Josh Bishop's 29. Um, what's her name? Jessica Rodan is 33. They are uniquely gifted. Josh Bishop recently has been doing his MLW run as one of the skyscrapers. He actually replaced Baron Corbin when he left the company to go back to the WWE. And recently, as a member of the tag team champion skyscrapers, Bishop and Donovan Dijak lost to Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, dropping the belts to them, which is usually a sign in both MLW and TNA that someone's leaving. And I think Bishop is going to end up leaving, either to go to TNA or go to WWE. We'll see which one. He's got a shorter Sid Vicious energy to him. He's like 6'3", so he's not like as tall as Sid. But Enzo Amore called him, Sid Vicious because of how much he looks like him, the power bomb, the clothesline. Though he doesn't play softball nearly as much, so that's probably a good thing. He's a main eventer, ready to go. Like he'll need a year or two to develop and build, but like if you put the mic in his hand, you give him enough matches, he'll get over. But the thing is, though, is he's not nearly on the level of Jessica Rodan in terms of star power. She is an American gladiator. She is like 6'1", 6'2", which is huge for a female wrestler. She's going to have a huge profile with the next season of American Gladiators, which she's a focal point on. She's developed by OVW, so if TNA does do this OVW training camp minor league system that they're trying to install, this new partnership, she'd be the perfect first name to call up from OVW. She's athletic. She's a good enough wrestler. I wouldn't say she's, Jordan Grace, Tessa Blanchard, fucking Gail Kim, but like she's good enough. She's certainly good enough with her profile. She's gorgeous, cut like a fucking Greek goddess out of granite. You wouldn't even build her up. First night she wins the belt. There'd be no reason not to. Like set her up as your Wonder Woman, like as your Glamazon, your Amazon, your 10th wonder of the world. Like there's 1,000 different ways you could market this woman as being the next great thing in your Knockouts division, and she could bring the Knockouts division single-handedly back to relevance. If WWE doesn't sign her, TNA needs to sign her to one of the biggest contracts they can afford to do so, because I think she's nothing but money. Now, Marcus, I know you're not always on the up and up on some of the indie talent like I am. Have you heard of Josh Bishop and Jessica Roden? And if you have, any thoughts on them?
I haven't, but always trust your eye and your info when it comes to these talents, because you're not one of just live out compliments, certainly not just for aesthetics. So, but I think the key word to everything that you just said, and particularly with the young lady, is sign them
Mm-hmm.
a healthy contract, whatever that looks like right now, TNA. A nice stint, not just like we got them for 2 months and they didn't took the title off somebody and whatnot, So whatever they do, find a good talent, find uh, them to a nice contract with a nice length on them that you can get some good work out them store wise and then whatnot. 'Cause I was gonna ask you like, what's the of the last however many people they signed? I think you might have said this on the last show. Like, what's kind of been the best of the worst? Because the whole thing's felt like the worst. Like Eichner, uh, Elena, then you had Indy, then you had I'm just going all across the board. Then you had the suit lady. Then it's just not been good. So they need to up the ante this time around.
They really do. They've done way too much in the scope of bad signings. And I look at Indy, and she hasn't been great. I look at Lana, she hasn't been great. The suit has been terrible. Mr. Elegance, or yeah, the Elegance bro has not exactly looked his best. Some of it has to do with his packaging. He doesn't look like a star, and you're not going to get a star performance out of somebody who doesn't look like a star. So like there are avenues in which you can make these guys a little bit more marketable. but you're not going to get there if you just keep making them look like dolts. Jessica Rodin, J Rod, whatever you want to call her, comes in as someone who would be an instantaneous hit. Joshua Bishop, I think, is Bear Bronson material in terms of like potential. Bear needs a new look, but Bear's a fantastic wrestler. If you gave him a look that actually made him seem imposing and not like a dude who's working at a junkyard, I think Bear Bronson could be a main eventer by the end of next year. But as long as he's wearing those stupid slacks and that belt with his singlet, he's never going to be taken seriously. He comes out in this dope mask and this cool fucking vest, and then he looks like a dude who's about to change my muffler. What are we doing? TNA needs to work on their image, not just with how they're presented to the wrestling world, but how they present the wrestlers to the wrestling world. And until they do that right, they're going to need to find tailor-made talent who are ready to go, and J Rod is ready to go. With that being said, though, Marcus, any final thoughts on this week's show? I either want exactly how I laid this show out or the worst thing I've ever seen in the world to the point where Matthew of Botchamania makes an entire episode just on this event alone. I don't want anything in between. I do because at this point, at least it'll be interesting. At least I'll have something to talk about come Tuesday. Oh, it's absolutely TNA who can do it. Oh, it's absolutely TNA that can do it. Um, so yeah, that'll bring us to the end of the show. Marcus, I kind of muted you for a couple seconds on that back end, so sorry about that. But I agree with you. If anyone can make the worst episode ever following the AMC debut, you are correct. It is TNA because that AMC debut was atrocious. So catching people up with what they should have heard had I not muted your side of the thing accidentally. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be one of our shows if not for technical difficulties. All right, that'll take us to the end of the show. Be sure to check us out at the website, realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcrp.com. We are on Twitter at NERDCRP. We are on Twitch and YouTube at Wrestling Underground. Check us out there. Marcus, you're on your own Twitter at Paradox Kid, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. That's True Penny Show. Marcus, what are you guys talking about on the True Penny Pod?
Yeah, right now you can go and catch the last 2 nights of the G1 featuring James and very knowledgeable young lady named Christy. Uh, just and in New Japan delivered a hell of a show, hell of a finale, particularly going into kind of a new era, if you will, of New Japan. So go check that out, G1 as well as the show. And be on the lookout. We're talking about the life and times of uh, recently passed on Dory Funk Jr. So I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, Dory Funk was an absolute legend. So apparently Brock Rushsteiner, who's the son of Scott Steiner, is being credited for hitting a giant German suplex in a dual camp between New Orleans Saints and the Dallas Cowboys. And I just watched it, and he just fell over. like, like that's all. Oh my God, he hit this big boot, and like he just falls over. And I'm like, y'all kind of suck. Honest to goodness. All
Oh
right.
man.
Be sure to check me out on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHEDNERDCRP, and on the Instagram as well at Chad's Photo at CHEDSPHOTOHUT. We will also be back on the air next week here on YouTube. As always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, why don't you take us home?
Good night.